And welcome to It's Not Your Fault. I'm your host, Kim Power-Stilson, here with Steve Shenk, author of It's Not Your Fault. This is a weekly show. You can find us on the Roku box, Ustream. You can find Steve on Steve Shenk on Facebook, as well as Twitter. And you can find It's Not Your Fault on Facebook and watch these shows. Tweet. Yeah. It's the big thing, right? We're tweeting and Facebooking, and we're doing this great streaming talk TV.
I don't know, sounds kind of sissy to me. Tweet. I'm going to tweet you. I don't know, go ahead. I'm sorry. We're taking up valuable time.
And we digress.
Get on with it.
So today on the show, each week on the show, we talk about principles that are in Steve's book. Now, you can go and find his book on Amazon and as well, like I said, on the sites I mentioned.
We're going to talk about women today.
So today we're going to talk about women.
And you mentioned Amazon. Ooh. Wow. This could get exciting. I'm already
and a little
interested.
Frightening.
I don't even know what I'm going to say, and I'm interested.
Well, and I want to introduce our guest host. This is Lexi. Hi, Lexi. Oh, there she goes. She's having a nap on Steve's lap.
Now you've done it. Everybody's going to think I could just have a rug on my lap.
She's a great dog, and she is Steve's chair on the board, chairman of the board. Yeah.
She attends all the board meetings.
So Steve is a successful entrepreneur, and he has founded the company eFoods Direct, and that company has provided a solution for people all over the world. And in his 30 years in the food industry providing a solution so people could eat this gourmet storable meals, Steve has put together these principles that work with people. And the insights are so amazing that I found that they have changed my life and the life of my family. Being a busy working mom, I need all the help I can get. And seriously, the way I'm thinking now is much more proficient, and I have much more joy. So today we're going to talk about women, and that's a principle in your book. What is that principle?
Behind every successful man, there is a woman rolling her eyes. When we were dealing with teenagers back home on the farm.
And you're from Minnesota originally.
And the kids, you'd say something and they're going, we say, stop looking at the flies on the ceiling.
That was rolling your eyes. Teens roll their eyes all the time.
That's true.
And women do too. At least I do.
Well, I just discovered in putting some of the thoughts together for this little conversation we're having, that I have a lot of women in my life. I've got you,
Lexi.
Well, yeah, right. Well, enough said. But anyway, I've got you, Kim. I've got Marina, who is kibitzing back there, and I've got Sherry, my wife that passed away a couple of years ago, and I've got Sylvia, my present wife. I've got Babs, my business partner. And so I've got all these women around me. And you'll discover, folks, after this conversation, that I have had no choice but to decide that women literally will be the solution to the problems that our country has with the economy, with the drought. Women will be the solution to the problems that most of the men who think that they're solving the problems have. And all I can talk from is personal experience. Now, I tend to be a little bit chauvinistic in many respects, but that's part of the testosterone thing. It just kind of happens. But let me tell you a little bit about Sherry. Those of you who've listened before know that at one point in time I was in the pre-need cemetery business. That's selling cemetery property to people that really don't want it. And we were starving, which happened a great deal of the time during my sales career. And Sherry was trying to raise 6 kids and keep the 7th kid in line at the same time. And one time I was driving down from Frankfort, Indiana, where I worked at Green Lawn Cemetery. I've done a lot of stuff that people don't want to do. But anyway.
Which was why you know people and why you're such a great salesperson, and which is why you could write that book.
Well, you from time to time have said that I'm an expert in food. One of the definitions of an expert is a drip under pressure. You realize that. But anyway, I was weeping and wailing and gnashing my teeth and cussing and speaking German like what I usually do. That's my dad used to refer to that as the King's English, and damning and helling all over the place, and fussing about the fact that the market was no good, the product was no good, and everything was no good except me, of course. And Sherry just said, "Stop!" She happened to be riding with me. She was babysitting me because I was afraid to go out on my own. But anyway, she says, "Stop. You've got to decide. Decide if you're going to be a salesman or not." And I said, "Well, I want to be a salesman." "No, you don't. You haven't decided yet. You keep finding all of these outs. You keep saying, well, the market's no good, so that's an excuse for you not doing well. The people are stupid. That's an excuse for you not deciding what you're going to do. You can't do anything about any of that stuff. You can do something about you. You can decide that you're going to make it into a good market. You're going to make the people intelligent, wise, and courageous enough to make decisions. You've got to find the right people at the right time that want, need, and appreciate what you got." Oh, okay. So from then on, at one point in time, she found a book, The Lazy Man's Way to Riches. I don't know if it's still published out there, by Joe Carbo. I'll give the guy credit. And he just wrote a simple self-help book that said, write down every goal you got, and then you say them in the morning and you say them in the evening. You try and visualize as much as you can and imagine yourself in it. And at that time, I had a stack of self-help books about that high, and I'd listen to every motivational speaker that you could get on tapes, driving all over the countryside. And she said, "Okay, we're going to do this." Okay. I said, "Well, do you think it'll help?" Just reading the goals once a couple times a day, that doesn't do anything. Just do it. Okay. So we made a list of 57 goals. We wrote them on some notebook paper, and we folded it the wrong way just because that's how we happen to fold it.
By the way, the book is still available. That's what our producer just told us.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Joe Carbo. Go find it. All right, go
buy
ahead.
the silly thing. It'll tell you a lot of the stuff that we're telling you. And but the fact is that this stuff worked. But the only reason that I was able to do it, now, there's a principle that people seem to ascribe to, and that's that men think and women feel. I know that this is objectionable to women a lot, but it's really true. Oddly enough, men also feel, and they do what they feel like, and then they justify it with their thinking. But the fact is that they perceive themselves as thinkers, and men do. They process differently. Women process differently than men. But the beautiful thing is, and here's a principle that all of you can relate to. Have you ever gone on a diet, or have you ever decided to do something and it lasts about 3 days? That's about the human capability of thinking. Okay? You can think, and until you get feelings into it, you can't really sustain your determination to decide and stay decided. So what people do is they think and they say, boy, that's a good diet, and they get on it and they last for about 3 days, and then that chocolate cake catches up to them and they are tempted, and then they have to think. But if they haven't gotten the feelings that say, I feel crappy the way I look, I want to fix that, and I can't get interested in that chocolate cake because I know how that'll make me feel. And women can do that a lot better than men. And so I have a perfect example. We wrote the 57 goals down. So I got up in the morning. For the first 3 days, I got up in the morning and I stated my goals and I visualized. And at night, just before I went to bed, I visualized my goals. And about the third day, I said, I'm too tired. Sherry said, read your goals. Okay. Then the next morning I got up and I was in a hurry. I am in too much of a hurry. I gotta get going. You see, I was past the third day. That's my limit for thinking, man. Okay. So anyway, and Sherry said, read your goals before you put that key in the ignition. Okay. And so I read them real fast, but I read them.
Okay.
Okay. And there are a few things that we've learned that we've added to the My Book of Life that people can get, where
Which
they
is
can
great.
do this.
You definitely want to hear more about this.
But anyway, that we didn't know then, but we were just doing the basics. Mm-hmm. And so then I'd come home at night after all my appointments. I'd get home at about 11 o'clock. I'm tired, and I go, I'll just do it twice in the morning. No, honey, read your goals. And it wasn't, honey, read your goals after about the sixth night of whining and gnashing my teeth and begging mommy to let me go to bed and not have to do this, or I was too busy and I did all the excuses in the book. Finally, she got me past the 21st day. You can create now here's something that you might want to remember. You want to create a habit. You want to get up and walk every morning. All you do is set one simple goal. You don't say, I'm going to do it the rest of my life. But if you can do it for 21 days, 21 days, that's 3 times 7 for those in Anoka, Minnesota. Okay, 21 days, you can establish a habit, and then you can stop having to think and fight with yourself. So guys, any of you that want to set these objectives of finding a new job, getting rid of the cardboard sign that says loose change will help, and getting a job, buying a home, doing all the things, taking yourself from wherever you are, any of you in your life, to where you want to be, all you have to do is have someone help you. Guys, if you've got a wonderful, glorious wife, she can help you. And that's why we're talking about women today a little bit, because women are the powerhouses of our universe. What Sherry did was she got me to the 21st day. And after that, I didn't whine, I didn't cry anymore, I didn't beg to be let go to bed. I knew that if I said, can I not read my goals? The only way I could get by if I didn't ask her and I snuck. But she would know, are you in bed? Have you read your goals? Sorry, she got me past the 21st day. And let me tell you, within 6 months' time, we had accomplished all of those. I personally, a one-man sales team, had outsold in 6 months' time the entire staff of the home office, which had 17 men, and they'd been working for a year. I had a better sales volume than they did, and I had every one of those goals except one. And the bonus that we got at the awards banquet, Sherry took and bought the motorcycle that I had on the goals. So we'd accomplished all of those. So
6 months, your life had changed.
I was a successful man. I stood up in front of the group and then brought my wife up beside me and pointed out the fact that what I had not been able to accomplish in 2.5 years had been done in 6 months. Because my daddy used to say, the power behind the throne shall never be known. But I know that with all of my thinking and all of my male bluster and testosterone and how I'm going to go out and conquer the world and slay the dragon and drag the drumstick home, that little woman, with her feelings and her support of me, and her ability not to have to be the one, but being able to take pride in the man that she chose, and to be able to be the support. Many of you have heard the song, The Wind Beneath My Wings. Okay? If you haven't, get it and find a way to support that woman who has the feelings that you need to put together with your thoughts to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish. And the fact is, very simply, when we brought Sherry up there and introduced her as my wife, and they told how wonderful I was, and I admitted the fact that I really hadn't achieved all those goals single-handedly, she did in fact smile and roll her eyes. We need a break.
All right, you're listening to It's Not Your Fault. We've been hearing from Steve Shenk. Please join us after this brief commercial break.
Folks, have you ever realized that freedom is spelled F-O-O-D? Food. After air and water, food is our greatest dependency. Taking control of that dependency ensures personal power, independence, and freedom. We can't control earthquakes, storms, martial law, dollar crash inflation, the global warming hoax, farm and garden restrictive legislation, job loss, crop failures, or the 2012 planet disruptions. However, if we have our own food, none of these can control us. Hunger can never be used to control you if you never are forced to stand in a bread line because you do not have your own bread. It seems the only freedom we still have control of is possession of food. If we don't control our own food, events are rapidly moving to use food to control us. Freedom truly is spelled F-O-O-D. Contact efoodsdirect.com or call 800-409-5633. That's efoodsdirect.com or 800-409-5633.
Welcome back to It's Not Your Fault. I'm here with author Steve Shenk. He's the author of It's Not Your Fault. I'm Kim Power-Stilson, and this is a show that's every single week here on the Roku box, on Facebook. You can find us on itsnotyourfault.tv and steveshenk.me. And please join us on the community on Facebook. Steve, before the break, you were sharing the story about your wife who kept you reading your goals, your these thoughts, the ideas of what you wanted to accomplish every single day for 21 days. She kept you going, and then you were able to achieve your goals. And if you were listening, he got up in front of the entire group at an awards banquet and thanked his wife, and she rolled her eyes, which is the principle again, which is behind every man is a woman who's rolling her eyes.
And it's not... The reason for that story is the fact that, I've heard all the stuff about, men from Mars and women from Venus and all that kind of stuff. We process things completely differently. But one of the most important things that we need to realize is that we can take power and control over our destiny. And when we set objectives, when we want to accomplish something, we can do anything as a team. We can work together. We can accomplish anything, but we have to understand what the strengths are. And we live in a relatively chauvinistic society. We do. In fact, you had sent me
Anita Finley.
Say again?
The link to Anita Finley, who wrote the book called Dirty Words on Clean Skin.
Yeah, and it's about how women are seen. And the fact is that there's a sense and a feeling. Understand this. People don't do what makes sense. They don't logically think things through and do what makes sense. They do what they feel like doing, and then they justify it with logic. That's why the capacity of women to just blatantly feel. If a woman senses that she likes you, she can't explain sometimes why, but she's usually right. They talk about a woman's intuition. My kids, when we were driving along, oftentimes believed that Sherry had eyes in the back of her head because she could tell them what they were doing without even turning and look at them. She could feel it and sense it. Inspiration, a lot of times, when a couple is trying to solve a problem, the woman's counsel is so valuable. And I think that as you get into It's Not Your Fault and study the principles, to know me is to love me, I like me best when I'm with you, when you understand that we have total control over the situation that we're in, I think that all of you women out there that read the book will realize and just sense that this little side journal that says, okay, the first thing you do is fill out all the things that you're grateful for. Women can be grateful more readily than men can. Men, and I think that it's because, and I'm not speaking pejoratively of men. I are one, and I think we're great. But I also think that we miss a lot. And I think that women miss a lot about us. And what I'm trying to say is that when you look at that little journal that says, list everything you're grateful for, and then list everything that you want to accomplish and experience and have and do and want, that the principles in this book will ring more true to women first. And then if you get your men to read them and understand them, and then you can help as a team work together. And you write your goals and objectives together for your family or your relationship. Those of you who are single, if you have a significant other, if you aren't totally in accord, you don't want to share all of your goals, but you have something to look forward to and to determine after reading the book what kind of a relationship you want. There are many women out there, single moms, that would give their eye teeth for a guy that's a gem rather than the lump of coal that they just divorced. You know, the difference between a gem and a lump of coal is the lump of coal is kind of dirty and kind of useless, as opposed to the gem. You get the idea. But the fact is that we literally, by understanding the roles that women can play in our lives, they have that mothering instinct. And for those men out there that have a good woman, you would be a fool to read this book and try and do it by yourself without her support, like I tried to do for a long time before Sherry stepped in and said, look, dummy, get it on. So all I'm trying to say in this little segment is that there's a lot to investigate, and read the book and understand that the women will feel right off the bat that this stuff is absolutely true and they can use it. You men, read it, counsel with your significant other, or think about it yourselves, and you'll discover that we have the answer by saying, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. And you have total control over the circumstances that you have in your life by you deciding what you want and going after it, and realize that men think, and they can last about 3 days, but if they can get the feelings that women have about the truthfulness of this, then we will have a wonderful experience, and we'll walk down that road together, and you can have and be and accomplish all that you can be and what you want in life, and it can be joyful and happy. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, thank you, Steve. And thank you for joining us today on It's Not Your Fault. You can find more about Steve and the book and more about these principles on steveshenk.me and It's Not Your Fault TV. And please join us on Facebook. Put your comments in. Share these videos with your friends. Come join us at the conferences that are coming up, and come work through the seminars and learn how you can apply all of these principles to your life.
The one thing we haven't pointed out is on the Facebook stuff and the web pages and everything, there's a place where you can ask questions. You're going to have some questions. You're going to think I'm half a bubble off with one oar in the water on some of this stuff, but I can prove to you everything that we're talking about here. You got any questions? Ask them. Ask them. It doesn't hurt. Like the kids, you know, they started asking questions, and if you get to know us, you're going to love us.
Join us next show on It's Not Your Fault.tv. Thanks for joining us today.